Welcome to Roots and Ruminants, your podcast for creative and innovative use of farm, pasture, and rangeland. We're going back to the basics of raising and grazing livestock, growing your own forage, and practical land use.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We're at it again with another episode of Roots and Ruminants coming at you with one of the most popular guests we've ever had. We've got Cole Sonne with Sonne Farms. And if you don't know Sonne Farms, you'll have to check him out on YouTube. We'll get his story, all things farming, raising livestock, and being a YouTube star. So this is pretty cool. Cole, we're excited to have you. You're from, is it Mount Vernon, South Dakota?
Yeah.
Awesome. Mount Vernon, South Dakota, down in the southeast corner of the state. And so fairly local to where we are here up in Brookings. But we've also got Alex Gatormson on the call here today. Alex is the agronomist with Renova Seed and number one fan of Sonne Farms. YouTube.
That's right.
We've learned. So Alex is here to also help with this interview. And so it's going to be a fun conversation. So Cole, why don't you go ahead and like what we do with all of our guests, we go ahead and have them give a background of their operation on the farming side and what you're doing, crops you're raising, livestock you have in Mount Vernon.
Yeah, sounds good. So I guess a little background on me is grew up in Mount Vernon, played sports all through high school, went to college at SDSU for agronomy, took some cattle classes, animal husbandry stuff, and I just every other weekend went home. Knew I wanted to come back to the farm after I graduated, and so the moment I got done with that last final, my pickup was loaded up and I drove straight home and I started tearing out some fence. So always knew I wanted to come back to the farm. Joined my dad there. He's been farming all his life, just like many of us farmers. The main I guess aspects of our farm is Black Angus cattle. Dad's been raising and selling Black Angus bulls since 1997. And then we do corn and soybeans mostly. Of course, we make a lot of hay, alfalfa, grass, hay, brome and intermediate to feed the cattle through the winter and in the feedlots. And so I guess that's kind of a rundown of us.
Awesome. That doesn't sound too much different than Alex and I's college journey as well. He was agronomy, I was animal science, and both lived fairly close to SDSU as well. But loved SDSU, loved everything about it, still love cheering for him. But it was when you had the farm and you knew that was your passion, it was pretty convenient to be able to get home.
Absolutely. Definitely made it a suitcase campus. Everybody was on their way out as soon as Friday afternoon rolled around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny, if there was a bad storm coming, a lot of people would hunker down and be like, all right, we're just going to stay on campus. No, I tried to beat the storm so I could help Dad.
Yeah.
Those March winter storms when you're calving and all that. So spring break, my brother went on a spring break vacation once, but not me. It was always, for some reason, it was always snowing and we were always calving hard. So I went straight home and just help Dad through it.
For some reason, we got roped into going to brandings over spring break. Had a buddy who lived out by Sturgis, and so we'd go help with their branding over spring break, which was a pretty fun spring break trip. When we road tripped across the state of South Dakota in a pickup full of 5 or 6 guys. We found
Deadwood
fun still.
A little bit.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah. So Mount Vernon, can you give our listeners kind of the lay of the land and as far as the quality of the soils there with your farming operation, but still have the ability to raise cattle and what that looks like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so in my area, it's kind of interesting. If you get just 10, 15 miles west of us, it really starts turning into a lot of pasture and rangeland. And so it feels like we're kind of the start of the Corn Belt, I guess. And as you go east and, you look towards Iowa and Minnesota, you think of those rich black soils. So we're just kind of the start of that. And it's really nice for raising cattle because we have all the corn stalks we need. Wintering when we're not getting big snows can be pretty easy. The cows are out on stalks just right outside this door right now, and we're going to move them on Friday to another about 200 acres of corn stalks. So it's been a nice winter so far, but yeah, we got quite a bit of pasture, quite a bit of corn and soybean rotation in the area.
Is all your pasture ground pretty much localized around your guys' place there, or do you guys got to bring them out west somewhere that you normally go to?
Yeah, so Dad has 4 pastures that are all within about, well, 2 of them are within a mile of his place, and then the other 2 are within about 4 miles. Um, so we have enough room for about 100 pairs right here at home. And then one thing we don't talk on the channel much about is that we actually have another 100 or so west of us, about 20 miles, I'd say. We have a neighbor that takes care of and helps calve and watches the pastures for us during the summer. Of course, when it's time to do big jobs like run all the calves through for the first round, Dad and I go out there with our corral, and we all work together with the help of our neighbor. And so yeah, we don't talk much about it. I don't really know why. We're just not out there as often as our home pastures, So yeah, that's kind of the cattle side.
It is a phenomenal area, and in that line, it kind of travels up as you move north along or up through South Dakota as well. And so I've always thought those transition areas where you're in an area where you're getting usually enough rain that your pasture grass is good, you can grow good crops, you can graze corn stalks. That is an awesome area to raise
It's
cattle.
perfect. Yeah, it's relatively low cost. You just gotta have a good fence and throw your cows out on the stock. Sometimes you gotta haul water, but we're also in an area where we have a few artesian wells here and there where it's constantly flowing
Oh
every
yeah.
few days. So probably 2 or 3 of our pastures are fed by an artesian well, so that's really nice.
Can't beat good water in a pasture. Yeah, it's been a phenomenal winter as far as just keeping the cows out, and even it seems like we've had a couple cold snaps here and there, but we haven't had a whole lot of wind, and I say that on a really windy day. But like most of the time, like when we get really cold like that, we're fighting a lot of wind. The cows are bunched up, but for the most part, other than a few days, they've been out moseying around, still picking at stalks.
Yeah, in the last few years, at this point, we've been kind of running out of ditch hay and all that to feed them. But so far this year, I've only fed about 8 bales.
Wow.
That
They've
is
been
phenomenal.
grazing the rest by themselves.
So, can you talk through kind of your what does your yearly forage plan look like, and maybe just even an overarching philosophy of how you raise cattle? Like, if you're selling bulls, what are you best known for? Are you raising low input bulls or high performing bulls or the most eye appealing structurally sound bulls? What does
Yeah.
that look like?
Yeah, so Dad specializes in low birth weight bulls, and so that's kind of what he built his name on, in my opinion. We do have bigger cow bulls too, um, but we also calve a lot of heifers ourselves each year, so we're just naturally using heifer bulls, low birth weight bulls, and
Sure.
so that's kind of what we've been doing. Um, I guess feed wise, we do. We have probably about 100 acres of alfalfa that we cut. Like to do 3 times a year, but the last couple of years been in a drought, so we've been lucky to get 2 cuttings. Quite a few acres of grass that we cut. Some of it is native, and then some of it's brome grass that we drilled at some point. One big thing we do every year is sorghum, and we chop that for silage. We put that in a couple places that we calve near at home, so it's a short haul when we do cut. And there's something kind of interesting about it. Dad used to plant corn and soybeans in these couple of small areas, but you pay for the insurance, and then you raise a poor crop, and you have to insure it, and you have to certify those acres, and so it kind of pulls your farm average down.
Mm,
When you're planting in those places, you have heavy foot traffic with the cows, and so it was probably about 10 years ago he started doing sorghum. Um, Sorghum Sudan grass and chopping it for silage. It's the seed isn't as expensive. It doesn't pull down your yields when you harvest a poor corn crop.
yeah.
And then more recently, we've started, after we chop that for silage, drilling in a rye right after. And been really nice these last couple of years because we've had some dry springs and it's been dusty, and those baby calves, they're just sucking that in, and then you start running into pneumonia and having troubles with that. So we start putting that rye in, and it kind of holds the soil together a little bit more, gives them something fresh to lay on. And then, one thing you might not think about is just having something green growing there keeps a lot of pressure off the fences. Springtime, the fence lines are greening up, and those cows are stretching. And if you got anything that's barbed wire fence, they're pushing over posts and they're snapping wires, and so it's it's been kind of neat, and had some success and some failures, but get lucky every once in a while. This fall was pretty dry. Drilled it, and the next day got a half inch, and then it didn't rain again for quite a while. It just perfect timing. Got it rooted a little bit, but it's nice to see that greening up in the spring.
Yeah.
Might be greening up this week even.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
It probably will tomorrow, actually.
Yeah.
After a 50-degree day today.
Yeah.
Doesn't take much. Are you taking pears out to the rye? Are you calving out on the rye? Or?
Yeah, so these two fields, one's 3 acres and one's 17. The 17 acres we do most of our calving on, and then the 3 acres we put about 20 pairs on. So a little of both, but mostly it's a nice place to calve. We start calving in February, middle of February, with our heifers, and so a lot of our calving for the first month and a half, it's pretty much all in buildings.
Mm-hmm.
So that there's some challenges there, but we think the pros outweigh the cons, just with timing and field works beginning in late April. So
and you're selling bulls.
Yeah.
You got to have a bull ready to breed when
Yeah.
buyers want them ready to go. So
Exactly.
it's hard to calve in May.
They're yearling bulls, and so they need to have a little age on them so they can service our customers' cows. Another thing is with calving heifers, the hardest thing to get bred is a first-time heifer. She calved, she's still growing, she's raising a calf, and then trying to get ready for that next calf. So we think by calving, a month earlier, it gives them a whole nother cycle to just keep caught up and hopefully stay in our herd.
Yep, I would agree.
Absolutely. Good nutrition plays a big part of that too.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to selling bulls, do you guys host like a bull sale that you bring large, big crowd to? Or is it pretty much all private treaty, or how do you guys usually go about that?
Yep, it's a private treaty. Mostly repeat customers, local guys. Of course, with the YouTube channel, we've been pushing out into other states with people seeing our stock
Mm-hmm.
and how we take care of them and the sires we use. There's been some people coming as far as 12, 14 hours away to pick up our bulls, so that's pretty fun.
That's
it's
awesome.
fun for them because they're big fans of the channel and get to stop out, and we have a meal with everybody, all the customers on bull day. So, yeah, usually starting around January 1st, we tell people you can come and check out the bulls and look at the sheet and pick them up. But a lot of the local long-time people, they just tell Dad, "Hey, I need this," pick them out, and Dad's good at picking out the best ones. It's first come, first serve, and so that's kind of how it works.
Absolutely.
How would you compare feeding sorghum silage to corn silage?
We do it. We get it tested, and we go by our nutritionist recommendation. But actually, we do chop a little bit of corn silage as well, and they're both in the same pit. So we kind of treat it all as the same.
Yep.
Yeah, the sheet calls for this much silage, and we grab what's in the pit. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do that, actually. They'll top off their corn pile with sorghum silage because the sorghum's usually a little wetter and it doesn't run quite as bad.
Yep. The last few years, it's September 1st, and you're like, no, we could probably start cutting here soon, and the next thing you know, it's middle September, and you've had 14 days in a row where it's 85 plus and windy, and that corn starts drying down way faster than you expect. So, and then the sorghum is green as can be, and so put that on top and it soaks in and gives you a little moisture in the ration.
Absolutely.
Better blend. So as far as the YouTube channel, what can you kind of start us off at the very beginning of how it started and why you got interested in it?
Yeah, so I was still in college. I was a sophomore, and I wanted a drone because I thought they were cool, and so I bought one. And then I guess I was flying it around, taking video of us putting up hay, planting, harvesting, whatever. And then it's like, okay, I have this video. What am I gonna do with it? And it's taking up a lot of space on the micro SD. So I thought, well, if I put it on YouTube, then it's there, and I can delete everything, and I can make more videos, I guess. And for some reason, a couple videos started getting some views, and you're like, oh my gosh, 500 500 views. Like, that's crazy. That I don't even have that many friends. Like how that's a lot of people. And so that gets you excited. It's so new, and it's like, I wonder how many more views we can get on the next one. And so you kind of just keep going with it. And I was watching some other people on YouTube that were vlogging, talking to the phone, explaining what was going on. And so I thought, well, might as well give that a shot. And so I used my iPhone 6 and was just doing a little explaining. And the videos didn't really take off right away, but just kind of kept going with it. You hit new milestones, and it just adds more and more excitement. And I think it's about 6 years later, and we're at just about 303,000 subscribers on YouTube.
I for sure don't have that many friends. I can tell you that much. Yeah, that's a lot of people. What'd your dad think about it when you first started? Like, here's my son just coming home from college, and he's wasting all this time carrying his phone around talking to it. Like, was it hard to get him on board, or did he?
No, I mean, they were intrigued. Those first few videos, I'd shoot them and I'd edit them, and then I'd show my parents before I even put it on YouTube, and just kind of got their opinion. They'd sit there and just watch, and they'd be like, okay. And they didn't feel too judgmental, so I think they were all for it. Right away, if you watch the early videos, Dad was right in there. I remember one of the first springs we were making YouTube videos, we were putting some new blades on the planter, and he was right there holding the new and the used and just showing how much difference and how much wear. And so he kind of took to it right away and was getting involved in the videos. I didn't have to pull his arm or nothing. He was right in there.
That's incredible. I feel like there's not many dads, like for our dad's age or generation, that would be on board with that. It's more so like get stuff done right now. It's time to combine, time to start planting, whatever. So
Yeah,
that's pretty fun.
it helps that I'm pretty fast, so I can kind of run up ahead of him, set the camera up, and then get back to work. So, you know, my biggest worry with the YouTube thing is, trying to set up a camera and then getting somebody hurt. We got to stay focused, especially around cattle and around equipment. Safety comes first, then it's farming, and then it's videoing. So
Yep.
you gotta have your priorities straight.
So one of our previous guests was Matt Feldhaus. He has that channel Ranching Sodak.
Mm-hmm.
And he had kind of, I was asking some of the questions about, planning things out and how you, capturing it and the difficulty of it. And one of the things that he said that obviously resonated with me the most was that you just have to capture the natural moments, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you just always have to have your camera rolling, and when you're doing things that seem like they may not be as interesting to you, sometimes they are the most interesting to your listeners.
Mm-hmm.
And so do you think that's kind of the same with your followers too?
Yeah, so even on days where I don't plan on filming, I bring a camera with, because stuff happens. People love destruction and the times where things go south, and obviously you don't plan for that. So people like the real life aspect of it, and just your reaction and how you face the adversity, whatever it is. And so and you can't really schedule all that out, so
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that authenticity goes a long ways.
Was there like a specific video that like helped your channel or any social media platform like really take off?
yeah. So when I was still just doing drone video, uh, and I was picking different things, like one day we're baling hay and one day we're planting or whatever. And I thought, it'd be really cool to just get start to finish morning chores. We do about 4 loads plus or minus of feed every day, loading the feed wagon. And actually that morning we were grinding hay as well. So I thought this would be a really cool drone video. And I went to film that, and it was cold. It was about 10 degrees, and there was windy. And so I thought, I'm going to stand in the tin shed and look out the window, kind of watch the drone. Well, being in a tin shed, I kind of lost signal, and I flew my drone into a grain bin. And so I was like, okay, Cole, is what I said to myself. You're 20 years old, you're playing with these drones, and they're expensive, and you're breaking it, and you're not getting nothing done. It's time to hang it up. And my grandma and grandpa from Minnesota, they loved my videos, and they just like, I don't want to see you quit. And so they bought me another drone. And I was like, wow, that is, I couldn't thank them enough. And then the very next video, I tried to recreate that one, and it just took off. It was getting hundreds of thousands. I think at this point it's at 400,000 views. And so that very next video, thanks to my grandma and grandpa for buying me a drone, just kind of hit it big, and we really started getting some subscribers there. And so that was very exciting, and I was very thankful. It's, without a doubt, I wouldn't have this YouTube channel without my grandparents forking over some cash to,
Yeah,
I guess, keep this
that's
dream
crazy.
alive.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
How would you say like social media has changed your operation? If you think back to when you were like before you started the drones, so like freshman in college, how would you say it's changed your operation day to day, like whole year, you name it?
I mean, the biggest thing is we're still farming. We're doing
Mm-hmm.
things mostly how we would have been. For me, it's given me some opportunities. It's pretty hard to get started farming as a young guy, and a lot of folks that want to farm full time, they have a job in town. That's how they started. There's a lot of guys farming that still have a second job, whether it be trucking or selling feed or selling seed, and this is kind of my second job, or my main job, you could even say. It's given me the ability to farm. The first piece of ground that I was able to farm, got the opportunity to farm, I actually had to purchase. There's nothing coming up for rent available. That's something came up for sale, and because of the YouTube channel, I was able to put the down payment on it, and so it's just given me opportunities and the ability to take advantage of opportunities, really.
That's awesome. Because I would agree with you. I think a lot of people our age, because I would assume we're about the same age, are especially that went or grew up in the agriculture industry. Like a lot of our dreams are to farm, you know? Like we saw our grandpas doing it, you name it, and just carrying down. But it's one of those things that if you don't have an established operation to come back to, it is very tough to
Mm-hmm.
start up from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great way to look at it and a good aspect to bring into it.
Yeah, it's, even if your parents farmed, it can be difficult. Say your parents own 4 quarters, that's millions of dollars in land. Say they have 4 kids, and
Yep.
it gets split up 4 ways, and it's hard to make a living on 1 quarter of land. So it's just tough to stay in the business and keep the legacy going on, because things get split up, and
Hmm.
it just takes so much capital and equity to keep a farm alive.
Yeah.
So actually, I have no idea. Well, I have an idea of how you earn income from your YouTube channel, but at what level of listeners was it? It was like, holy buckets! Like, this is actually meaningful to me now, and I need to keep it going. Like, is it 1,000 subscribers? Is it
So
100,000?
when I think back to my senior year, I graduated college with 40,000 subscribers. And at that point, there were, I would say I was making on average $50 a day at 40,000 subscribers. Anyone got a calculator?
18,250 a year.
When you're living in college, that's the gold mine. I got
I bet.
I got enough
Jackpot.
for some decent groceries and going out to the bars with my friends, So right away, you're like, there's something here. If I'm able to make 18,000 a year, and I'm full-time student, going home every other weekend and filming some videos, yeah, you're pretty excited about it. And so I would say at that point, 40,000. I mean,
Sure.
I would say there's people in that situation that would be like, I could almost quit my job and just really dive in and make better quality content, and you could probably make a go at it and make YouTube your full time job at that point, assuming you're going to grow it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What other opportunities have you seen, other than the Roots and Ruminants podcast, of course? But I mean, you're probably like conferences and things like that where you're invited to now. Like, what else has it led to?
Yeah, so we've done a couple speaking events, most small. The biggest one, my dad and I went and spoke at a co-op's annual meeting, and we got there and it said Sunny Farms keynote speaker, and I thought, ooh, the pressure's on. I've listened to some good keynote speakers, so I was like, oh gosh, that I hope we live up to something good here. But there was probably 120 people there, so we've done some smaller speaking events, but it's kind of neat. It's taken me to the NCBA, the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. I've been there with two different companies. I went with John Deere once, and I went with Artsway once. So that's pretty cool stuff, being asked to accompany them at big events like that. Took me to Winnipeg once, and I've been to Wyoming because of the YouTube, and I've been to Iowa. Those aren't as cool as Orlando and Houston,
Yeah.
but yeah. So get a little travel in here and there.
Cool is all in the eye of the beholder, though. I mean, hey, cool is different for everybody.
It was nice to spend a couple days in Gillette, Wyoming that one summer.
Yeah. Yep. What about promotional items? Do you guys get to try out anything cool, cutting edge that you normally wouldn't have?
Cutting edge.
My first thought was your bale accumulator. Not everybody's got one of them on the back of their round baler.
Yeah.
Pretty sweet.
Yep. So yeah, we were able to partner with John Deere probably 3 summers ago now, and they hooked on a bale accumulator for us, and we got to run it that summer. And at the end of the summer, we liked it enough that we actually bought it. So that was kind of cool. Being able to try some stuff. We've worked with AeroQuip quite a bit, and they've let us try some things, and we ended up keeping a lot of their equipment on our farm. If you watch the videos, our chutes are. We have 2 AeroQuip chutes, and we have their portable corral and a couple bale feeders even. So we really like their stuff.
Yeah, my
It is
wife.
nice stuff. Absolutely. It's the quietest manual chute out there. It's
Yeah.
phenomenal.
My
Is it
wife.
hydraulic or manual?
We have a hydraulic and a manual.
Okay, yeah.
Whenever my wife watches it, she used to work for a vet clinic where they did a bunch of IVF, ET, you name it, work, and they were constantly running cows and calves through chutes. And they're like, she says, I would have paid money to go work at your guys' place because everything's just so well flowed and everything's pristine and real nice to work with. So
Yeah, we had a vet out.
it's pretty
once,
fun to
and
watch.
He said, "You got nicer equipment than most vets."
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a good way to keep things safe too, though. Like what you had mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when things flow well and everything is neat and tidy, both you and your critters are safer.
Yeah, of course. We had troubles with our previous setup. You weren't able to squeeze the alleys down, and so these calves, they'd start turning around and they'd get half stuck in there. Next thing you know, they're upside down with legs poking out from underneath the side of the alleys, and we don't have that issue at all anymore.
Yep.
Harder to post those YouTube videos, probably.
Yeah, some of it is like I mentioned. People love a horror show and things going awry,
True.
but yeah, there's not too many times where we're like, yeah, we shouldn't show that. We've showed dead animals. It happens. We had a first time heifer mom last year that we went out there just to check on the animals, and she was just laying there. You don't really know what happened, but it happens, and so I think it's important to show that kind of stuff, and I think people want to see that we are a legit farm, that it's not always perfect, it's not always all pristine
Yeah.
air-equipped handling equipment. Like, they got issues too, and
Yep.
we all do.
The one I'm always waiting for and haven't seen much of has been when a cagey mama cow with a fresh calf gets a little protective of her calf and with you inside her comfort zone.
Oh,
Haven't
well.
seen too much of that yet, but
Yeah, well, the last few years we've been trying to cull that.
yep.
My dad, he's in his 60s, and so he's not the speediest. And I myself have had 3 knee surgeries, so I run about as fast as him. So we try to keep things as safe as possible. We've been culling some of those angrier ones, and more recently we got a fast catch calf catcher, and that's been really nice. There was one day Dad was gone, and I had to take a calf, and I went to tag it, and the mom got after me a little bit, and so I went back, hooked up the calf catcher, and put it in a cage, and it's so much nicer. You don't have to worry about it. You do a better job on the calf too. Getting that ear tag in.
Absolutely.
You're not hitting one of those veins and looking over your shoulder, and so I think it's good for everybody involved.
Absolutely.
Is that one that does that go on the side of a Ranger, or is it a
Yeah,
bucket?
so it actually you got to have a winch, and you have a special plate in the front of your whatever UTV you have, and so the winch picks it up and then sets it over top of the calf, which I really like that because it's not bouncing on the ground. Some of the other brands are really loud and just get cattle running, and so with this one up in the air, it's not making really any noise. And then, if a calf falls with those ones that drive on the ground right next to you, sometimes you'll hit them and you can, do some damage.
Yeah.
And so it's
Slide them underneath.
I think it's a lot safer, and it's made out of aluminum, so it's pretty light. So it's a pretty cool machine, I'd say.
Absolutely.
So we're in the winter months of planting crops. Are there any crop rotations that you're doing different this next season, or trying differently on your farm?
Not really. We got all our seed bought. Where the biggest thing is just looking at yield data. With John Deere software, we're able to go download it onto my John Deere and look at field to field and hybrid, and so spent a few hours looking at that and seeing what performed the best, and trying to figure out what we want to try again. And so it's mostly just hybrid stuff and seeing what worked well.
Do you grow a third? Is it corn and beans?
Corn and
And then you
beans,
said
yeah.
some
We haven't
alfalfa.
done wheat for probably a decade.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. No oats, flax, sunflowers, buckwheat.
So we did some oats, some forage oats, so that was 2018, and we chopped it for silage, and then we did a turnip, radish, and rapeseed mix, and grazed
Now you're
that
talking
in
our
the fall.
language.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually, that was when we just started doing videos. I have a video of us disking in the oats, and then we cut the oats, and then a forage harvester picked it up and put it in the pit. And yeah, I don't know, it's a good way to make some feed and to use some cover crops, but in my opinion, the sorghum, it just outperforms so many other things. We probably what do we get, probably 3 to 4 tons an acre with them oats, and you do a
Yep.
sorghum sedan or whatever, and you might get closer to 15, and you can still probably, just barely maybe put a cover crop in mid-September after you chop the sorghum, and
Yeah. If you're still getting rye out there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
And it's probably, I mean, well, it is. It's fitting your scenario better as far as your system of calving on it and getting pairs out on a healthier environment.
Yeah.
Fits your need.
It's just tough to put something like oats in to chop because it's just like, well, I could probably put corn here and make enough profit to where I could just buy a bunch of oat hay or whatever. It's just it's you got to run the numbers, but
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it changes all the time. And right now, feed is pretty undervalued.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy a lot of pretty good grass hay for $80 a ton.
Mm-hmm.
Good alfalfa hay for less than 150, $120 a ton will buy you a lot of good alfalfa.
Yep.
So
It's because nobody's feeding it yet this year. Winter's been too nice, which is
Mm-hmm.
great. But
Yeah, it's a good switch. Man, with the last 3 years of drought, other than before this year, Dad bought more hay in 2023 than he did the previous 40 years of his farming career altogether.
wow.
wow.
So, yeah.
At the highest valued time.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. And a lot of farmers say you never sell hay, you just wait for that next drought and stockpile it up. And,
Yep.
yeah.
Do you guys finish your calves?
Nope. So pretty much every one of our home raised heifers gets bred, and we calve most of them out. We sell
Okay.
usually 1 or 2 dozen. So a lot of our cows are really young. The average age of our cows is probably really close to 3. Most of them are going to be second calvers this year. And then of course our bulls, they keep their member and get sold as bulls.
Yep.
Herd sires.
Yep.
And yep. So
I just seen one of your videos where you're selling some locker beef.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. So we just
that.
started that last year was the
Okay.
first time, and I think we finished 6, and we're working with
Okay.
a company out of Iowa called Farmer Grade. They basically
Mhm.
buy the animals from you, and then they send them to the locker, and they do the shipping out, and it's kind of your way of direct to consumer. I don't know how I would have done it without them, I guess. So they kind of do all the logistical stuff, and so then this year they just got delivered on the 21st. We did 12 heifers, home raised, and some of my dad's and some of mine.
So where do you have to go for that though?
So those went to Lamoni, Iowa, southeastern
Lamoni.
Iowa.
Okay.
Lamoni, I think it's pronounced.
Huh.
Yep.
Farmer grade.
Yep.
That's what it's called.
Yep. It's a
Very cool.
man about 2 years younger than I that kind of set all this up, and he
Awesome concept.
yeah, he his goal is to kind of work with influencer types, which I
Yeah.
don't know if you're on Twitter, but be light on the word influencer.
Yeah.
in the
Right.
world, but just his big thing is organic, and not in the way of like no pesticides, but just genuine, I guess I would say, and just showing how the animals were raised. I take video. Some of the critters that got delivered last week, people saw them get calved on our farm, and they saw them go out to pasture, get finished in the feedlot, and then they were able to purchase some beef. So it's kind of, imagine watching your egg get spit out and then,
Yeah.
all the way to your plate. So it's pretty cool.
Absolutely. You guys do finish some calves though, don't you? Based off your YouTube channel? Like there are some calves that come to your place in the wintertime and go into a feedlot?
So we do backgrounding.
Oh,
which is-
okay.
It's kind of the pre-step to finishing. So
Yeah.
Dad buys a lot of cattle at about 400 or 500 pounds, and we usually feed them to about 800 to 900 pounds. And so they're getting bought around November, December, a little in January, and then we often sell in March, April, depending on the market and the weight. And we kind of do that because, well, frankly, we don't make enough feed to have all the feedlots full year round. And then the other thing is, we got crops that we got to take care of and get in the field, and so it's nice to kind of slow down on the cattle side during the spring and summer months, and then during the winter, that's kind of our primary thing is taking care of the feedlot cattle and starting calving.
Can we go back to farmer grade one more time?
Yeah, should.
So you are selling the critter to the person who's buying it, but then are you just paying them a fee for the processing and packaging and shipping?
So no. So the check I get is per pound for the beef, and then
Gotcha. From farmer grade?
Yeah. So I sell it to
Okay.
farmer grade essentially.
Yeah. Yep.
And then, he sets the prices on the beef to where he can pay for the animals, the processing, and the shipping. So, yeah, when I get an email that they don't like the price of the steak, I say, that's not my department. I just sold the critters. You take that up with somebody else.
Yeah.
Yep.
Will he differentiate prices of cuts though? So ground beef's $5 and steak's $10?
Yeah.
Or is it all? Okay,
Yep.
okay. So it's a little bit different than somebody who's used to buying a half or a whole.
Exactly.
They get one flat fee or.
So the first year we actually did boxes, and so you had 2 boxes. One was basically just ground beef, and one was mostly steak and a little bit of ground beef. This year it was by the cut. So if you wanted 1 T-bone, 3 pounds of ground, you could do that. And so you got to pick and choose. Yeah, a little bit different this year.
Sure.
Yep.
Huh,
That's a great concept.
Yeah, so last year the steak sold out in the first 24 hours and the hamburger sold out in the first week. This year, with double the animals, the steak sold out in basically the first 24 hours, and then we still have a little bit of ground beef, but you get quite a few pounds of ground beef.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fun stuff. Everybody wants the steaks, and I agree.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easiest thing to sell. Sure. Very good. Well, this has been fun. Awesome conversation. Glad I got to learn more about. Really, I learned a ton about the YouTube space.
We talked.
I need
about
4,000
some,
viewers.
Cover crops, even.
There we go. Yep.
Yep.
It's good stuff. So, okay, if a listener of Ruts and Ruminants has never gone and found your YouTube channel, how do they get to it and how do they search it up?
Yeah, so just check out Sonne Farms. Our last name is spelled Sonne. We're also on Facebook, Instagram. It's kind of the bread and butter right there with YouTube. So we got 890 videos on YouTube. We've been doing it for 6 years. So, yeah, that's a lot of hours. A lot of time. Most days I farm from 8 to 5, and then I come home and I often edit till 10 and edit on the weekends. So it's a pretty busy life, and we just, my wife and I just brought home our first baby boy Reed, about a month ago. He turned 1 month yesterday, so, yeah.
Great stuff.
That's so awesome. You getting any sleep?
Yeah, tons of it, actually.
Now you have all sorts of time. Because you're awake all the time to edit these videos.
I know. He starts crying at 5, and then by the time you're done feeding him, it's like, well, I might as well not go back to bed. So here we go. Yeah. No, he's actually been pretty good. Last night he went for 6 hours straight sleeping.
Whoa.
Yep. So we're pretty excited about that.
That is awesome.
Keep that belly full.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Take advantage of those days when they come.
Yeah.
Well, it's been good. Well, thank you once again, Cole. Thanks, Alex, for being our guest host.
Absolutely. Thanks for the invite.
Podcast. So, all right, and as always, listeners, feel free to get on rutsandruminants.com. Look forward to more episodes coming to you. We'll see you.
Thanks, Cole. See you later.
See ya.
Thanks.
Well, we hope you enjoyed another episode of the Ruts and Ruminants podcast. Let us know what you thought of it. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all those social media things. And, if you ever have any questions, just give us a call. We've got a toll-free number here at 888-498-7333. Be glad to hear from you. Thank you.